नमस्कार कुमाऊं, दिस इज आरजे याकूब एंड यू आर लिसनिंग 88.4 एफएम पंचशूल पल्स यानी कि हिल से दिल तक।
और मैं हूं स्टूडेंट आरजे शुभी।
आज हम बहुत ज्यादा गौरवान्वित महसूस कर रहे हैं क्योंकि हमारे स्टूडियो में इस समय मौजूद हैं लेफ्टिनेंट जनरल अजय कुमार सिंह, परम विशिष्ट सेवा मेडल, अति विशिष्ट सेवा मेडल, युद्ध सेवा मेडल, सेना मेडल एवं विशिष्ट सेवा मेडल, PhD, रिटायर्ड जनरल ऑफिसर ऑफ द इंडियन आर्मी।
He was the General Officer Commanding in Chief, Southern Command of the Indian Army. The General Officer is an alumnus of 𝐁𝐮𝐫𝐽𝐿's Academy, Retd. He then attended the National Defence Academy and the Indian Military Academy. He is also a graduate of the Defence Service Staff College, Wellington and the National Defence College.
The General Officer was commissioned into the 7th Battalion of the 11th Gorkha Rifles on 15 December 1984 from the Indian Military Academy. He has commanded 111 Gorkha Rifles as part of a strike corps and later on the line of control.
He later commanded a brigade in counter-insurgency force in J&K and 33 Corps in Eastern Sector. Currently, he is heading Bharat Himalayan International Strategic Manch, 𝐓𝐨𝐽𝐝, a premier Indian think tank based at Dehradun, dedicated to research and strategic discourse on India's development, geopolitics, defense strategy and Indian heritage. Welcome to Panchshul Pulse. How are you doing?
Absolutely fine. Thank you, Shubhi. Thank you, Yakub. And it's good to be here on the Panchshul Pulse. And let me also compliment you and congratulate you because shortly you'll be completing your first year in another 2 days. Congratulations.
So sir, first of all, I would like to ask, how is the Indian Army contributing to capabilities development in the remote and border areas of Kumaon region in terms of its infrastructure and livelihood-oriented initiative while simultaneously ensuring national security and strengthening community resilience?
So that's a very good question, Yakub. So Indian Army, as you know, is primarily responsible for the sovereignty and defense of the country. But apart from that, in the course of their duties, they are also deployed on the border areas. So right from the independence, we have been the Indian Armed Forces, and in particular Indian Army has been deployed on the borders. So primarily since they are deployed on the borders, they have been a prime integrator. They are the one who have sort of played a very pivotal and a very important role in the development of the border areas, like if you say the Kumaon borders. Yes. So I think the Indian Army, in particular Central Command, the Panchshul Brigade, they have played a very mammoth role. So first and foremost is the infrastructure. So they take care of the infrastructure. So Army prepares roads, tracks, and primarily these roads and tracks also become the lifeline of the locals. So this is one very major important factor. Apart from that, when Army is deployed, we would also generate a lot of employment because there are a lot of porters and ponies that are being employed. A lot of people get employment. So and also when the Army is there, we are also spending money there in that area. So even in the economic and the financial part also, there is a very major sort of contribution. Apart from that, Army, by virtue of their presence, also do a lot because in all these areas, the administrative machinery, it takes time to go to the border areas and the remote areas. And since Army is present there, so what we do is we will take up a lot of projects, like for example, in the field of education. So we would provide education support, the equipment, like computers, even training, even in fact, a lot of the Army officers themselves, like education scholarships. I have known a lot of Army officers who personally sponsor scholarship of children in the remote areas. There are a lot of schools also, that have been supported. Apart from that, I think one of the most important thing is we take the border areas to the mainstream by our very presence. So large number of events like car rallies, bike rallies, bicycle expeditions, expeditions per se are all being organized. So I think these are all activities through which the Indian Army plays a very important role. Not only that, in the border areas there is lack of electricity. in some areas. And I think Army contributes immensely. So we have the solar, we have the microgrids, through which electricity is provided. In fact, your own channel, the Panchshul Pulse, is also playing a very important role, because you are taking up a lot of projects, in the sense informing the people of 𝐬𝐽 about the various development projects that are being done. I'm sure you're also giving a lot of weather-related projects, the status of the roads, and these are all information which are very critical to the people staying in the remote areas. So, in a nutshell, I think apart from defending the borders, the Indian Army plays a very crucial, very important role just by their sheer presence. Especially in the border areas, our forest cover is intact, our flora fauna is intact. It's because Army, by its presence, is also like a deterrent against the people who are into poaching, who are into tree felling. So that itself, that does not get translated, but it is also a very important role that the Army is playing.
Incredible initiative, sir.
Thank you, Shubhi.
And now if you can throw some light on, how is Indian Army helping the locals of 𝐬𝐽 region in terms of humanitarian outreach and resilience?
So again, this is a very important question, because it's very important to connect at a human level. I think when the Indian Army guards the border, it is also very important role of the Indian Army to prepare the citizens which are there in the remote areas, because they are like the first line of defense. So if we can prepare them, if we can make them security conscious, I think that itself is a very major thing. Apart from that, like I said, in the school, in the field of education, there are a whole lot of projects that are being taken, scholarship schemes are being taken, improvement to school infrastructure, giving them sports equipment, giving them IT related equipment, organizing a lot of functions in the schools. So this itself is a very major thing. Then Army has also played a very important and a crucial role, especially in the homestay. You are all aware of the migration. People have vacated, and they have vacated because they are looking for the good opportunities in the hinterland. I think it's important, that we provide such kind of an opportunity in the border area. To that extent, the Army, by virtue of improvement of the infrastructure, by virtue of the scholarship scheme and giving the incentives to the school, these homestay are very, very important, and also a lot of yatras take place, like Adi Kailash Yatra and things. So giving it coverage, informing the people, I think of late, especially 𝐬𝐽 has seen a spurt in the footfalls, and I think Army has also played a very crucial and a very critical role in making sure that this exposure is given to the public at large. Apart from that, since we are there, medical support, animal husbandry. So these are again dental. So Army is the first responder. Not only that, if there is an issue, the Army becomes the first responder. There are a lot of people, tourists, who will come and visit the border areas, and sometimes people fall sick. Sometimes they fall sick to an extent where they need evacuation. So Army comes to the help, especially in giving the medical. You would have seen sometimes people get stuck because roads are closed and there is no place for them. So at that time, I think it's the Indian Army that comes to the rescue of the tourists and its citizens. We provide not only the first aid, but we also provide clothing at that time. We also provide shelter, and in critical cases, we also make sure that people get evacuated. So I think this is the way in which the Indian Army is providing this humanitarian assistance to people at large.
Great, sir. Sir, you spoke about multiple organizations and agencies involved in the development in 𝐬𝐽 region. So, military-civil fusion is an important pillar of operating in the remote areas like this. How does Indian Army ensure multi-agencies coordination in the area to ensure holistic development?
So, Yaqub, again a very pertinent and a very important question, because this civil-military fusion is the buzzword now. As you have seen when you look around today, there are so many conflicts which are taking place in the world, and where there is an era of technology, era of precision weapons. So it's not that the fight would be on the borders, the fight could be anywhere. So the citizens themselves sort of have to be prepared. So army in the border areas acts like an integrator. There are a large number of agencies which are there in the border areas. The state government is there. There are a lot of schemes of the central government also in the development. Then you have the ATBP. You also have the other, you have the border road organization which is creating the infrastructure. So army by its sheer presence and by its knowledge of the area becomes like the prime integrator. It integrates the efforts of everyone, make sure that the same infrastructure, you would have heard of dual use infrastructure. So in that case, you create an infrastructure in a manner that it is being used by the civilians and it is also being used by the army for the security purposes. You also would have heard of the Vibrant Villages program. There's a program which has been sponsored by the Ministry of Home Affairs, and it is being done through the paramilitary forces, primarily the ITBP. So army coordinates in this Vibrant Villages program, and also the border area development. So because we actually sort of tell them as to which road has to go where, and a little bit of an alignment if we make a change, then the same road which is being used for our purpose can also be used by the civilians, by the trekkers. So I think these are the number of ways in which army is acting as an integrator.
Now moving on towards some government initiatives. Aligned to the Vibrant Villages initiative of the Government of India, how does the Indian Army engages with the local communities and contributes to the border area development of this region?
So Shobhi, again a very good questions. Part of it has been answered earlier. I'll focus on certain issues. So like I said, one is the infra upgrade that takes place in the border areas, which is a very prime. Second, infra not only in terms of the roads and tracks, but also in terms of the electricity generation through the micro the solar power projects. Not only the solar power projects, we also have a number of even the hydroelectric, because especially Kumaon area has got a lot of hydroelectric potential. So even this part also can be leveraged for generation of electricity by steps such as your step. You have the Panchshul Pulse, by which the communication, because communication is extremely important. Then you have the scheme whereby the tents have been provided so that the homestay in tents, and army gives it to the community so that community can own it and community can run it. So that way army understands as to where it is required, and it is community owned, so people have their own, that it is theirs, so they would take ownership, they would run it much more efficiently. Then also by virtue of facilitating the large number of rallies, so the bike rallies which take place, car rallies, so the people who are from the plains and the other parts of India get a bird's eye view, get a very nice exposure and view of the beautiful Kumaon region. Then number of other things, if I can say, especially as I mentioned earlier, in terms of your primarily in the case of where you can have like schools scholarship scheme that I have sort of mentioned. So these are and also holding large number of medical camps, dental camps, animal husbandry camps, Vibrant Villages, that program gave me. So I think these are all sort of issues and programs through which very important role in making an integrated approach towards holistic development and creating a real civil military fusion can be achieved.
Great, sir. As we know that tourism in the Kumaon region is on an exponential rise. What role does Indian Army play in ensuring that the tourism in the region continue to grow?
So tourism, one of the most important thing in tourism is the infrastructure. And like I said, Army has been the first one and the main which has provided the initial infrastructure. Army also provides exposure. And third is the communication. Through army, people get to know. When you organize a rally, and it has a huge coverage both in the print media and also in the digital media, people get to know, people understand, and then they develop this, that okay, I also must go and visit. So I think these are the various means through which it is evident. It's not that you can see, if you see last 10 years or 15 or 20 years, the footfall, especially in the Kumaon region, has been increased to a great extent. Like your Pithoragarh itself is, like a mini Kashmir. People are saying it's like mini Kashmir. And when you just mention it and the flora and fauna which is related with this, I think that is how people get really sort of attracted to visiting these places like Adi Kailash Yatra. These are all very important, and from the religious point of view and also from the nature point of view. You have a very distinct flora and fauna, especially in this area. And since there is a lack of infrastructure, it takes time for the infra, and army has infrastructure. So I think tourist also gets very emboldened. The very fact that army's presence is there, a tourist doesn't hesitate. He says, okay, they are there, the protectors are there. So that emboldens them. That though it's a difficult area, it's a altitude area, but they know that if there is a criticality, army is there, they will be first responder, they will provide the medical aid, they will provide the evacuation, they will provide the shelters if there is a requirement. So I think these are the various ways and means through which, and by directly also getting involved, like I said, homestays, making sure that we have this tent-based sort of homestays, giving people the know-how, and also by virtue of not only the serving personnel, I think the veterans, because Uttarakhand has large number of veterans. So I feel that the veterans itself can, in fact, most of these homestays and these important activities which are becoming like a focal point in the reverse migration. If you take a survey, you will realize and you will find for yourself that the veterans would have played a very important role. Because especially for the young generation, they are a little chary of coming back to the remote areas. But as armed forces personnel, as veterans, all throughout our life, we have stayed in these remote areas. So we take to it like fish takes to water. So we don't mind. So I feel that even the veterans also play a very important role in making sure that these remote areas, and like our own Honorable Prime Minister has mentioned, that these are not last villages, these are the first villages. So the first villages are getting the right kind of an infra, the right kind of exposure. And I think that is leading to an all-round holistic development of the border areas. And through this holistic development, we are creating a nice civil-military fusion. And through this civil-military fusion, we are also safeguarding and ensuring the defense of our borders.
Wonderful, sir. And lastly, what message would you like to convey to the locals of the region?
So I think for the locals and primarily for the youth, Shubhi, I would like to say, there is a beautiful, they say, Janani Janam Bhumish Swargadati Ganyasi. So your Janam Bhumi is very important. I think all of us must have that strong connect with the place where we are born. We have to have this thing in our heart that we must contribute. I'm not saying that, okay, you go out for higher education or whatever you want to do. But at some point of a time, I think you have to come back. And even while you are there, you have to contribute in some way. It may be through kind, it may be through your skills, it may be through your talent. It may be n number of ways. So I think it's very, very important to develop a very strong, connect with our own culture, with the Kumaoni culture. Kumaoni culture is very rich. You look at Almora, the great leaders that Almora has produced, important leaders. It is a place which is very close to the nature, and something which is very close to the nature, it sort of makes you still. And when your mind is still, there are a lot of very creative ideas. So this part of this Kumaon region has given a great number of political leaders, it has given a great number of scientists, it has given a great number of senior military leaders. V.C. Joshi is a prime example. Yes. You are located here in that school. So I think this connect with our culture, having pride in our culture, is extremely important. And to the youth, again, I would like to say that you must connect because you have the energy, and this energy has to be channelized in the correct manner. And when you have a connect with your roots, a tree will only grow tall and will only grow strong if it is if the roots have gone deep and if it is connected to the roots. So I think this is the same analogy. So my final parting words would be that yes, you must go out. It's important to go out. I'm not saying for a moment that you should not go out. You should go out, experience the world, but always remain connected with your roots and have that kind of a discipline, that dedication and that openness and that kind of a passion to work for your own from where you have originated.
थैंक यू सो मच सर फॉर गिविंग योर वैल्यूएबल टाइम। और मुझे आशा है कि हमारे दर्शकों को जो हमारे सोशल मीडिया पर देखते हैं, रेडियो पर सुनते हैं, उनको ये पसंद आएगा। थैंक यू।
थैंक यू शुभ्री। जय हिंद।